Here we go. Yeah, I just started to say when Sarah intervened in the most timely manner to remind me to record that last time we were discussing the wording of the first precept, Panatipata Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami, and which we all take to mean that you undertake the training rule to refrain from taking life. And I mentioned that there was an alternative interpretation that had been brought up at a retreat, which in November, um, which Simon will remember. You were on that retreat with me when it we had the, as we now know, rather fanciful interpretation, since prana originally meant breath, and atipata means it started off by meaning falling upon, then being hostile towards. And then the entertaining notion arose, if you interrupt somebody in full flow, you block off their breath. Now, could that mean panatipata? Um, and so this entertaining discussion went on, both at that retreat and the last time round. And then Francis most kindly put me right by sending an extract. Was it from a commentary to the
Yes, yeah, yeah,
Vinaya,
yeah.
where it's the way it's interpreted. The reason I'm saying this is because we can still look at it the other way. The way it is officially interpreted in the commentaries. Ask any Theravada monk, and he'll. I imagine all of them would say the same. It does specifically mean the taking of life. And it's got, if I remember correctly, what you sent to me, Francis. There's got to be something that is a living being. There's got to be your intention to deprive that being of life. You've
Mm,
got to knowingly, voluntarily carry that intention into effect. And the deed that you have done must, in fact, have resulted in the death of that living being. So none of
mm,
this, ooh, does it mean interrupting people, falling upon their breath? So, from the point of view of the correct doctrinal interpretation, um, I think it has to be agreed, particularly with the extract from the commentary that Francis sent me, that it has to mean the actual taking of life, actual killing of a living being. However, however, that is not to stop us letting the mind play over the other little possible interpretations of it. I very much doubt that we would be the first people to be doing that. So these words have this meaning, yes, but as the mind kind of wanders off, there are all these other little meanings. It also helps us now to understand what pranatipata actually really means in Pali, not just translating into English as the taking of life, but pana with its original meaning of breath, then by extension meaning life, and atipata, the original meaning of falling upon, attacking, and then with the extended now defined meaning of killing. So we still have these two ways of looking at it. One of them is doctrinally accepted, incontrovertibly there in the commentary, but as I say, not to stop the mind's kind of wandering over through the little byways of meaning here. So where were we? Um, kind of for a brief moment, I've forgotten where I was. That's where, but we are on the. Let me just share screen with you because we're on the in lesson 2 of Ger and Karunatilaka, reading number 2. We're just going to do a brief read. We can move straight on to um, the second paragraph in that. Just going to share screen with you. Um, Mm-mm-mm. Yes. Mm. Okay, can you all see the shared screen now? Okay, good. Thank you.
Yes.
So actually, what I'll do before we go on to that second paragraph, I will just very slowly read out the first paragraph that we did the last time round in Kerana Tillika. I'm actually going to um, stop share. So if you can, getting back to our oral tradition, if you have the self-discipline to do it, thrown out the challenge there. If you have the self-discipline to do it, just listen to the words as I'm speaking them rather than follow them through the text.
Okay.
Rather, I mean, follow them through the printed text.
Okay.
Tihi. By the way, did anyone not get the meaning of tihi there? Nobody's put their hand up, so I assume you all. Ah, okay. It's an instrumental plural of three, like three by three. You see, ti. In Sanskrit, it would be um, tribhi. In English, we just say three. The numerals in Sanskrit further complicate matters by declining. Some of them, even in masculine, feminine, and neuter, and they don't all decline. Many of them do. Tihi is one of them. So tihi means by three. Tihi bhikkhave angehi samannagato papaniko abhabbo anadhigatam va bhogam adhigantum adhigatam va bhogam bhating katum katamehi tihi by what three katamehi tihi itha bhikkhave papaniko ubban hasamayan nasakacham kammantang adhithati Majhanhika samayam nasakacham kammantang adhittati. Sayanha samayam nasakacham kammantang adhittati. Imehi ko bhikkhave tihi angehi. Samanagato papaniko abhabbo. Anatigatam va bhogam adhigantum. Adhigatam va bhogam bhatinkatum.
Adigatam patum patum.
So was that term being said to me, or did somebody was somebody accidentally speaking to a hot mic? Kamanta, meaning his business. Okay, you can look at the text. Let's call it up. I need to confess that I may have misled you when we first looked at this text on the word kamanta, which is from kamma anta, or in Sanskrit would be karmanta, karma anta, karmanta. In Pali, kamma anta, kammanta. So kamma, meaning generally here, work or act or deed, and anta, meaning end. I mistakenly fell into the mistake of glossing it as the kamanta, the end, or the end in the sense of the purpose of the work. Simon correctly picked me up on that, and I have no double checked. It's not actually the purpose of the work; it's the result or end in the sense of the end result, as opposed to end in the sense of purpose. Simon was right. I have not found the word anta, meaning end in the sense of purpose, as in to what end are you doing that? It's the end in the sense of the finished task. So strictly speaking, kamma is the work, kamanta is the result of your work, but by extension has come to mean just your work generally. And again, by a double extension, as in samma kamanta, often translated as right action, just means right doing. But here in the sense here it's kamanta in the sense of when one's business, what one is doing. Simon, please come in.
Interesting the slight change of meaning that gives to samma kamanto. That it's almost as if it's saying that what you've actually done should be right. It's not your actions in doing it. It's that which you have wrought should be in good order, so to speak.
I think there's a lot of merit in that. Whether it is actually intended to mean that is difficult to say. I've always interpreted it. I could be wrong here. Just mean acting in the right way, and just we have broadly our English expression doing the right thing.
I mean, I would have thought that, I think I said before, that the anta, the end, it's often used in a spatial sense, as we'll see later on in one of these readings, I think.
We do indeed, is in reading 3 after this.
It's the boundary or the edge as far as you can go. Beyond that, there is terra incognita. And I would think that this also points in the Eightfold Path to the idea of what you can get away with, like knowing the boundaries of your actions. Right action bounded by, you can do this, but you can't do that.
That's an interesting one, Simon. Yes. Yeah. I suppose we could all have a think about that. So boundaries, yeah. What you can do and the boundary beyond which you cannot step.
I'm thinking, I mean, there would be so many different forms of livelihood that you couldn't possibly specify what the correct way to do each one would be. But you could say that they're all bounded by things like non-harming or non-self-aggrandizement. Lustful desire for above and beyond, etc.
Yeah, and of course we have quite a lot in the Pali literature about knowing the boundaries of things, like the phrase "if you are matta new," you matta measure new knower. You are a measure knower, and the monks are meant to be bhojane matta new, knowing the measure in what they eat. Judges and rulers and matanu in what punishments to inflict and how far you can go. So that is either the sole correct meaning or it's a meaning that people would have had. I think I agree with you. It's a meaning that people probably have had in their minds. So looking now at the second paragraph, that's the one beginning Evameva ko bhikkave. Evameva ko bhikkave tihi dhammehi samanagato bhikkhu abhabbo anadhigatam va kusalam dhammang adhigantum adhigatam va kusalam dhammang patingatum. So ikiti eva ko. So evam just means thus, or indeed many suttas begin evam maya sutang, thus by me heard. Thus I heard. Eva and ko are emphatics. So what is the difference between evam and evam eva ko? It's rather the same difference as in English. In that way, evam, in that way, thus, or in fact, in exactly the same way. It's just you. It means the same thing, but much more in that way, in exactly the same way. So the effect of evam eva ko is the same as it doesn't actually change the meaning. It just makes it more emphatic in the same way as we can do in English. So in exactly the same way, O monks, samanagato, joined, accompanied, or we'd say more idiomatic English, possessed of or endowed with, tihidamehi, with three. Here the Dhamma is used in the more sense, three qualities, three characteristics or factors here. Tihidamehi samanagato. Remember, that's the instrumental plural. If you are samanagato, endowed with, the thing that you're endowed with goes in the instrumental, so this is the instrumental plural. Tihidamehi samanagato bhikkhu abhabbo is incapable. It's from the root bhu, and bhabbo is Sanskrit bhavya. Bhabba in Pali means literally beable. It's the future passive participle of to be. So in English, we can't have the word beable, but we can invent it for these purposes. So if something is beable, it's something which is capable of being. And it also has the meaning of being capable of doing something. So the bhikkhu is abhabbo, is literally unbearable, which means here incapable of. Anadhigatam va kusalan dhammang adhigantum. So adhigam means to acquire or to get or to obtain. So this adhigantum, it's from our root gam, adhigantum. Actually, we'll be doing the infinitive form a little later in this current lesson. So gam with an M, with the infinitive ending tum, so the M changes to an N by standard phonetic mutation. So gantum means to go, adhigantum, literally to go towards or to go on to, which here means to acquire or to get. So adhigantum, to acquire. And this is the past participle of it, the adhigatam, and acquired, meaning already acquired. Here negated, anadhigata means not acquired or not yet acquired. So, if he is samanagato, here it's not used in a good meaning here. It means he has these three characteristics, but they are bad ones, as we will see. So a bhikkhu who just has or possesses three characteristics, tidamehi, abhabbo, is incapable of adhigantum, acquiring. You see two vars there. It's almost always going to be an either or, which is what it does here. So is incapable of acquiring either an unacquired kusala dhamma, an unacquired skillful quality, Adhigatam va kusalam dhamman patim gatum. Pati means increasing, and it was originally used in the agricultural sense of, you know, fattening your livestock. So it is fattening in a good positive sense here, or therefore in a enhancing. So is incapable either of acquiring not yet acquired skillful characteristic, state, or of patingatum, of increasing, literally fattening, anadigatam kuslantamam, an unacquired and not yet acquired skillful state. Katamehitihi. What three? It's used again here in the instrumental plural, to reflect the instrumental plural earlier. So this is, as it were, the short form saying samanagato katamehitihi, possessed of which three? So katamehitihi, which three? Idha bhikkhave, here, or in this respect, in this regard, on this point. Literally, spatially it means here, but then by extension, on this point, with regard to this subject that we're talking about. Idha bhikkhave, bhikkhu Ubbanha samayam nasakacham samadhi nimittang aditati. The word Ubbanha samayam is mean in the earlier part of the day. The word ahan in Sanskrit and become anha in Pali. Anha means day. So Pubba in Sanskrit purva, is directly cognate with the Latin previous, or English previous via Latin, and it means earlier. So Pubba Anha, so Pubbanha, means the foreday. We talk about the forenoon, the period of the day before noon, the forenoon. Here it's the foreday, which has exactly that same meaning. Pubbanha Samayam. Samaya could have been left out here. Samaya simply means time. So Pubbanhang on its own would have stated what is necessary. So the addition of the Samaya is almost pleonastic here. Samaya, I think you know, it's some aya, coming together. The aya, the verbal noun of I, to go. So samaya, to go together, come together. It means a time, and it can also mean meeting, a gathering. And some of you will know the Mahasamaya Sutta, the sutta of the great gathering. So the great coming together. It can also mean an agreement, but you can see how it can mean all a time, a meeting, an agreement is the coming together. It means time because it's French speakers here. It's like the conjoncture, or the conjuncture or juncture. At that juncture, where all these various factors were just there, at that juncture, meaning at that time, the literally means at that joining, just all those particular events, as it were, frozen in time and joined at that point, means time. So remember, samaya, in the meaning of time, does not mean time in extension. It means at a particular defined time. If you're talking about a long time, you wouldn't use the word samaya, you'd use the word kala there. Kala, as for example, when we talk about the swakato dhammo, swakato bhagavata dhammo, sanditiko akaliko. That is kala used in the sense of length of time. So akaliko means literally timeless, but one of the interpretations one I favor is, it doesn't take a long time for you to get the benefits of it. So it's not like the doctrine. If you're good and you obey the rules now, you'll go to heaven when you're dead. And you've got to you cannot be demonstrated that it's right now. You've got to wait for some time into the future. Akaliko means you don't have to wait to see the benefits of it. So that's the difference in kala and samaya. Time as a point in time, or time as duration. So Purbanha Samayam, in the 4 day time, so as we'd say in English or older English, in the forenoon, Nasakacham Samadhi Nimittang Adhitati. He does not properly attend to his Samadhi Nimitta. Simon, please.
I can't remember whether we looked at this one in the first paragraph. Sakacha, or adverb, it's obviously something to do with karoti. Is it sa, with, and then some sort of older form of kitcha, like with business, in a business-like manner? Or is it just directly from sakaroti, as in the sense of to honor, to do properly, to do well by?
It is the latter. It is in Sanskrit, it would be satkaroti, and this the verbal noun in Pali is sakara. In Sanskrit, it is satkara. Sat in the meaning, well, the original meaning of sat is that which exists, and by extension, it means also that which is true. We're to get satya, satcha, and also that which is good. So you get the Saddharma Pundarika Sutra, which is the lotus of the lotus of the good Lord, the sutra of the lotus of the Saddharma, which would be the good law. So this is satkara in Sanskrit, sakkara in Pali, literally right doing right by someone. And I think you see it much more often in the Sanskrit literature about when you're visited by a holy man, by somebody of high status. The satkara is literally the right doing. You treat him in the right way. Treat him with the correct honor. That's an extended meaning. This is the more primitive meaning of the same word, just doing it properly. Kacham is from the same. It's satkritya, the rightly doing. We have kacha or kitcha. We have in the Karanya Metta Sutta appakicho, a few things to be done. I would have been slightly more comfortable if this didn't have an M at the end of it. Because then it would just be a pure adverbial absolutive verb. Can mean just adverbial in the right way, literally having done right or doing in the right way. This could be something just crept in, but it just means correctly, properly doing it rightly. We have many of you will know the chant that we do. It's the Buddha Mangalagata. These Eti Mangala Buddha Sabbe Ita Ida Patipita are all arrayed, assembled here. And we have the Sakkarehi Chapujita, honored with Sakkarehi, instrumental plural, with Satkaras, with right doings, with correct actions towards them. That's, I think, in the Buddha Mangalagata on page 8 or 9 of our 9, I think, of our chanting book. There's somebody got our chanting book in front of them. Do I see you, Fenny, looking up at the chanting book?
No, but I can find it.
Okay. I thought you had that look on your face. Oh, I've got it. I can turn it right up. Let me just get mine a second.
I think it's page 9.
Page 9.
9.
You are right.
Arahan Sama Sambuddho Bhagawa. Is that right?
I'm wondering, are you looking at the old edition of the Samatha chanting book?
Yeah, I've got a PDF I've had for a while. It probably is. Sorry.
Okay, so we've got there's the 2008 was the first one, and the second edition is 2014. You can tell the second edition is the one that goes up to page 99. The first one I think went up to page 92 anyway. But it's the one, the Sambuddho Dipadang Seto Nisinno Cheva Manchime. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines down. Imeko Mangala Buddha Sabbe Idha Patittita. These auspicious Buddhas are all here arrayed, Patittita. Vandita, praised. Vandita te cha amhehi. Sorry, Vandita te cha amhehi. Praised are they by us. Sakkarehi cha pujita. And venerated sakkarehi, with these sakkaras, with these right doings. I mean, correct acts of reverencing and paying homage. So, Bhikkhu Pubanasamanas does not correctly atitati. This was the verb we've looked at, which is the verbal noun form, atitana, frequently translated as resolve. You resolve your determination to do something. And this is just the third person singular present, atitati. So it literally means stands on it or stands to it. Or standing by, you're attending to it. So he does not, sakkachamadhitati, does not correctly attend to his samadhi nimittam, his object of samadhi. As we know in samatha, the word nimitta, the literal original meaning of nimitta, both in Sanskrit and Pali, just means a sign or an indication or a mark. In this context, I think it means something like his object of samadhi, a bit like the kasina, it may be, or whatever meditation object is chosen. That's the meaning I think it has here. He does not correctly attend to his object of meditation. And then we get the same repeated, Majjhanhika samayang nasakachang samadhi nimittang atitati. So in the Majha Anhika Samaya, in the midday time. So he doesn't do it properly in the early part of the day, doesn't do it properly at midday. Majjhanhika Samayam nasakacham samadhi nimittang atitati. Sayanha Samayam nasakacham samadhi nimittang atitati. And from the root so or sa, both forms exist. So the saya means the ending or the closing of something. It also, as an extended form, pariavasana means the final closing off of something. Pariavasana in Sanskrit, pariyosana, which is that same root as saya, sayanham. We have the saying of the Dhamma that is lovely in the beginning, lovely in the middle, and lovely at the end. That's the Dhamman Adi Kalyanam Madhye Kalyanam Pariyusana Kalyanam. It's the Pariyusana, that sa there, is the same as the saya here, meaning the end or the close. So at the time of the closing of the day, sayan hasamayam nasakacham samadhi nimittam adiktati, he does not sakacham properly attend to his object of concentration as samadhi nimitta. Bear in mind, by the way, that the nimitta, as used in samatha, has got the specialized meaning. In ordinary language, it means no more than a sign or a mark. It also has the meaning of, can mean omens. And in the Bhagavad Gita, just before the battle, poor Arjuna talks about viparitani nimittani, the signs, the nimittas, meaning the omens are turned against us. So all the omens that he sees are viparita, turned back against us. So do remember when you're reading Sanskrit and Pali, this nimitta, it's got a wider range of meaning. It's not just our specialized samatha meaning. So imehi, idam, imam, meaning this. Imehi, again, this is our instrumental plural. Imehi kubikabe tihi dhammehi samanagato. So possessed of or having these three qualities or characteristics, bhikkhu abhabbo is incapable. Anadigatam va kusalan dhammam adigantum. So abhabbo, incapable of what? Adigantum, of obtaining. And adigatam, an unobtained, here meaning not yet obtained, kusalan dhammam, skillful state. Again, we see the va there, va followed closely by another va. Again, that almost invariably means either or. So he is incapable either of a digantum, obtaining, getting to a skillful state, or patim katum, literally making fat, fattening up, increasing, enhancing, an adigatam, an obtained, an already achieved, already obtained, kusalan dhammang, skillful state. So in a moment, I'll just read it through slowly, but before I do, were there any comments or queries arising out of this paragraph?
Yes, I'm.
Yes, please, Marianne.
I'm a little intrigued by the way that those are called qualities. If you see what I mean, they don't. I don't think we'd use the word qualities
No.
for what the monk has not done. If I hadn't done those three things, I don't know whether I would think I hadn't got those qualities, if you see what I mean. It's more like actions.
Yes, actually, this really does focus on a very, very important point. The word Dhamma, has lots and lots of various meanings. So sometimes the easiest way to translate it is state, or sorry, not state, thing. these three things. Looking back now on what I said, I would, in the light of what you've just said, I would not repeat the word qualities. It's not qualities here. It's in its much broader way of things, a bit more than a thing.
That Kelly that you shared with us talks of attributes.
Oh, Kelly has attributes, does he, Sarah? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a Dhamma. From the root drit, we all know Sanskrit dharma becomes Pali Dhamma. It's from the root dri, meaning to hold. And I think in the Abhidhamma sense, it's something that can be a known thing that can be said to exist. I'm straying onto slightly dangerous territory when I'm saying about Abhidhamma. So I'm looking at the Abhidhammists here to look at the expressions on their face when I venture into the meaning. But it's kind of things that can be said to exist, that even the tiniest mind moments can be broken down into dhammas. Is that right? It's like the smallest kind of thing that can be said to have a recognizable existence, but that is a thing that we can observe. Simon.
Yeah, I mean, it's still odd, isn't it, to talk about the bhikkhu being, or indeed the shopkeeper being negligent and using the term samanagato. And I think in the context of the next verse that follows it, it's kind of a bit of humor, really, isn't it? Like the bhikkhu has got these three fantastic qualities, and obviously they're just forgetfulness or being a useless. And then he comes up with the real thing. It's these that are the qualities that he needs.
Okay, were you applying a kind of moral goodness to whatever you're meant to be samanagato with?
Yes, it's normally context, isn't it? It's not something like he undergoes or goes down to or forgets.
No.
So it's normally used in terms of things that you've attained to, you've acquired, which are beneficial.
Normally, it would be used for having acquired something that is beneficial. But I don't know whether here it's a slightly humorous use of the word samanagato.
Yeah, that's what
You
I'm saying.
are endowed with the quality of laziness. Wake up. Or whether we're just reading too much into the word samanagato, just means having, possessing, mostly used in the sense of possessing a good quality, but can equally mean being possessed of an unskillful characteristic, a bad quality.
But
Ooh, we are joined by Rob momentarily.
not even saying that they're qualities, though. He's just saying that they don't do things. So there's the joke there. What qualities? Well, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that, and he doesn't do that. So he's not attained to anything. I think it's almost like a pun.
I think it could be because these things are mostly relate to basically good things that you acquired, good characteristics acquired. It could be slightly ironical here, slightly humorous and ironical. I think there's a case to be made for saying both, that on their own these things are morally neutral, and whether it's good or bad depends on what is being talked about. Or you could say, which is your point, Simon, that they generally have a good, positive connotation, and here being used slightly humorously, is you have the great richness of this enormous vice. Yes, which would be a kind of ironical way of putting it. I think it could be read in both ways. I'd certainly hesitate to definitively exclude either. So, was there any more arising out of that? I'll just read it through once. Okay. So eva cool. Actually, try now. We've been through this in detail. If you can, wouldn't dream of ordering you, but if you can, just don't look at the text. Just see if you can follow it as I speak it. So eva bhikkhave tihi dhammehi samannagato bhikkhu abhabbo anadhigatam va kusalan dhammang adhigantum adhigatam va kusalan dhammam pating gatum katamehi tihi idha bhikkhave bhikkhu kubban samayan nasakachang samadhi nimittang adhittati Majhannika samayam nasakachang samadhi nimittang adhittati. Sayan samayan nasakachang samadhi nimittang adhittati. Imehiko bhikkave tini dhammehi samanagato bhikkhu abhabbo anadhigatam va kusalan dhammang adhigantum adhigatam va kusalam dhammam atinkatum. So I hope you managed to follow that reasonably well. Oh, by the way, I think I've mentioned before that, I'm sure I have, that although we can't be absolutely sure how Pali was pronounced, the best guess that we have is by listening to the Brahmins chanting the Vedas. It's probably not exactly the same as how Pali was pronounced, but that's, I mean, if somebody has a better idea, tell me, but I think that that's the closest we will ever get to knowing how it was pronounced. And if you listen to the Brahmins, all over India, I mean, you can pick it up easily on the in internet. Chants from the Vedas. You find the Brahmins from all parts of India, with some very slight, unimportant regional variations in pronunciation, very close to each other in the way that they pronounce Vedic. It seems from listening to that the modern language of the Ganges Valley, I'm thinking primarily of Hindi, appears to be very conservative in its pronunciation. Conservative in the sense that there's nothing that obviously deviates from the pronunciation of the Vedas, as you hear them being chanted now, and equally. We have supporting evidence for that from the way that the other languages from the common stock, that derive from Sanskrit and the Prakrits. The other ones being mainly Marathi, Gujarati, Punjabi, Bengali. There's a few minor variations, but very, very close in the way that they pronounce things. I do my best to pronounce this as it would be pronounced in modern Hindi, which is probably, as I say, the modern Hindi and the way the Brahmins recite the Vedas are so very close. You can hardly distinguish between them. So that is the pronunciation that I attempt to follow. So before we move on, shall we have just a couple of before we stop for our break? should we just have a couple of recitations? So who is the first on in my gallery? That would be you, Christine. Yes. You love being first in the gallery, don't you? So Christine, could you just recite up to just the second second word of line 3, so from Evem Evako up to Patingatum. In your best Hindi accent.
I dread to think, but I'll have a go. Evam evako tabe. Ihitamehi samanagato ku abo. Anatigatum vakusalam tamam atigantum. Atigantum vakusalam tamam vatim patam.
Okay, actually, that would have probably have been understood by the Buddha. The way you pronounced it. With one, the Buddha would have said Christine has there accidentally used an infinitive instead of a past participle, because here we have atigantum, which means to get, and atigatam, already got. Yeah.
Right.
But apart from that, it came out pretty well. Can you just pronounce the bhikkhave? And in particular, I'm listening to you saying the very distinct doubling of the K, and also the very distinct aspirating of the K, and also of the bhikkhave. Bhikkhave. Right. That was very good indeed. And by the way, this pronunciation of the V, either at the beginning of a word or in between vowels, that one is pronounced slightly differently in different parts of India. Down in the south, for example, the Tamil speakers, you'll hear it being pronounced as very much like in English, V. The Thais always pronounce it as a W, exactly like the English W. So you'll hear the Thais pronouncing, in fact, the Thais can't say B, it comes out as a P when that's, so Pikawe. Pikawe is how the Thais will pronounce it. So the Thais pronounce it as a W. So at one extreme, you've got very much like the English V, other extreme is like the English W. The way it's pronounced typically in Hindi and elsewhere in the Ganges Valley, it's a kind of V, but in English, when we say V, we've got the lower lip against the upper teeth, V.
Yeah.
In Hindi, it's the lips not quite together to make a B, but a little bit open, yes. So it's kind of a halfway between them. So I say we can't say that the way a V is wrong. We can't say that a W is wrong. Just my preference is to pronounce it in the Ganges Valley way, but you will hear it perfectly legitimately pronounced like a straight English V if you're a Tamil speaker, or a straight English W, for example, in Thai. So next one, Shri Nimala, would you be able then to recite for us the
From
bit,
where to where?
the bit that I from Katamehi up to Atitati in this line here? What I'll do, there we are. If you can recite the bit that I've highlighted in yellow.
Yeah. Katamihi dihi ida bhikkave bhikkhu pubbahasam na sakkacham samadhinipitang adittati majjahine kasamyam va Adi, aditet, adittati, adittati.
Ditati, right. So can you just say this one again? Majjanhika samayang.
Majjanika samayam.
Right. Okay, very nice.
Majjanika
Thank you, Shreya Nimala. So we'll just have a couple more when we come back after a break. We're just on 4 now. So we will have our break.
And pause recording.
Thank you, Sarah. Always recording. Okay, wonderful. So I'll see you all in 15 minutes time.